Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so the conversation everyone was waiting to see have take place is happening in Las Vegas right now between Rob Pelinka and Sean Marks. They were talking with one another. I saw the footage myself. Those guys are conversing. Looked like the conversation looked like it was going pretty well. They were smiling, good energy. Masai Ujiri was right next to them, and directly next to him was Woj, and I'm pretty sure some more other folks. I saw Tim Bontemps, and was another one of those guys. I can't think of his name right now. Bald-headed guy that we see all the time doing NBA. So everybody was in that same vicinity, trying to ear hustle, see what's going on, and pretend like they're not listening when the whole world is paying attention to what's going on right there. So hopefully they can, get a deal going. Pretty excited about that as a Laker fan, but also if you're a Raptors fan, you should be really excited about this. You should, even though it's one of those situations where, I might be leading on a little bit as it pertains to you being excited because obviously they're just standing next to each other, whatever. But Masai Ujiri being that close to that conversation is a very good thing for Raptors fans that are trying to get their hands on Kevin Durant because needless to say, they need to be talking as well. And he was directly next to both of them. And Woj was talking to him. So needless to say, that's a sign that the Raptors are at least trying to send out the signal that you should be paying attention to them in regards to this conversation as well. Because I don't think he just happens to be standing there. Nah. Masai is one of the great GMs in this league. He was there for a purpose, I believe. And so everybody should be excited. I think it's finally time to see things happen. Laker fans, we should be really, really optimistic that Kyrie should be a Laker very soon. Hopefully we can get a deal that doesn't cost us both picks. So we can use the pick a different way. If we're going to use it, we should use it in a separate deal that makes us even better. So hopefully Sean Marks and Rob Pelinka can work that aspect out. Maybe we can find another way to make that value happen for them without throwing in that pick. That's what I want to see the Lakers do. I don't want to toss in Wenyen, Gabriel, and pieces like that. But we do have to try to figure out which we prefer. Some of the players that we're using or the pick that we hold. And I'd still think that even though we're saying we want to go all in, I still think that safety net that pick provides is most essential to our organization, especially if for some reason things don't work out here. So look alive, Laker fans, look alive. Brooklyn fans as well. I don't know if you guys got a good return coming. That's the only thing. That's why I'm not putting any emphasis on Brooklyn fans being excited, because if I'm a Brooklyn fan, I'm not excited. I'm upset. I'm mad that this didn't work out. And however I feel about it, to go along with the situation pointed at the players, however I feel about that. So as a Brooklyn fan, I would just say, cross your fingers. Hopefully this is a turning point for your organization. Hopefully this will start the process of them putting your team in a position to have a foundation. And that's what I think is missing there from Brooklyn. They have ambition, but they don't have a foundation. And because they don't have that foundation, they're continuing to make mistakes. And so once you get that foundation, that center piece of, basically players that you've drafted and, a team that you trust in terms of your scouting department and all of that can just continue to bring good talent in, just like I always preach to my Lakers. Do that, Brooklyn. That is most essential for a team that doesn't have its picks. You got to be really, really involved in the summer league types. Your summer league teams need to be sharp. Your G League affiliate needs to be sharp. Those are the type of things that if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, that's really where the next focus should be, turning our attention to getting that aspect of our organization in place. And once that happens, I promise you, everything else falls into place. Everything else. For every organization in the league, regardless of what your locale is, if basketball is sharp and you constantly have a strong department of scouts and young players in your G League, I guarantee you, you will not be lacking in assets. Even if you don't have picks, you will have an asset pool. I guarantee it. It's called your farm system. So that is what I think Brooklyn needs to be doing. And if they do those things, if they focus in on those things, then I can say, Brooklyn fans, you need to start being excited, because then now they're turning the corner as an organization, and you will have the ability to make those superstars that you keep coveting very happy. Because at this point, you keep getting the stars, but you can't make them happy. And it comes from having the ability to keep your team deep. How do you do that? G League. I'm telling you, young players, keeping these guys that you're excited about in and out of your lineup in terms of two-way deals. I'm telling you, it's a recipe for success going forward, and it needs to be taken advantage of by teams who have mortgaged everything, like the Timberwolves. That's the next step for them. I don't know that they don't already have that in place. I really don't know, but that is what needs to be in place now, because you did mortgage all these picks away, stuff like that. Same thing, farm system, working on players that can help make your organization valuable no matter what. So that's key. The draft will work for a lot of teams, but some teams are just going to have to find guys off the street who can ball. And they're there. You can find them all over the world. They're there. So that's what I'm hopeful those teams will do. And last but not least, of course, it's to swing back around to KD and Kyrie. If for some reason they're able to get some deals done, I don't think the situation, I don't want to cap and say it's not a failure, but what I can say is things didn't work out in a way that everybody could just have a clean slate to go forward. I don't think it was as simple as guys just come play basketball. I think the media makes it as simple as to say guys didn't want to show up for work, but I think the reality was the world was dealing with a very, very serious situation, and everybody handled it very different. That's what it really comes down to. What we went through 2020 and 2021, it affected all of us. And some of us made decisions that we regret during that time. Others made decisions that we're proud of, or somewhere in between. But I think what it really came down to is the Brooklyn Nets were definitely affected by that. That's what it came down to. They were specifically affected by that, And we can get mad at Kyrie Irving for how he reacted to that. You can get mad at the Brooklyn Nets organization for how they reacted to it. You could look at KD and say, why did you bring these people to us, or however you look at it. But at the end of the day, I just think that you gave it a shot and it didn't work out, and moving on is the only way forward. And I don't think anybody should harbor any bad feelings at all. I think the Brooklyn Nets need to accept the fact that, yes, Kai wasn't available, but why he wasn't available is only half the problem. That you weren't prepared for his unavailability is the bigger issue. And that is what ultimately needs to be spoken of more. The Brooklyn Nets just did not have enough depth, and it's because of the problems that we've been talking about. It's because they didn't have those players that made their team that much more valuable. You know what I mean? They depleted themselves of a lot that made them deep, that would have made it so that they could have withstood this. Yes, it would have still been a problem, but your team wouldn't have suffered for it. And that's the difference. If Kai played for the Heat and that happened, they would have withstood it because of how they're constructed with all that depth and defense. Golden State would have withstood it. I don't know they win the championship, but they don't get swept out of the first round. That's not a situation that occurred because they didn't have all three of their stars. It occurred because they didn't have a strong enough bench. Part of that is because you built with 3 stars, but the other part is just because you didn't have enough in place that was, had enough upside, players that could actually do something for you, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I see there. That's ultimately what I see there. I don't think people should be so upset at the players as it pertains to why the situation failed, because it didn't necessarily have to fail. You just got to have a strong enough team. And it's not as easy as let me just grab great players and put them together and it's going to be that easy. You got to balance your cap. And you got to have other things in place. And then you got to have willing participants, people who are going to put basketball first. You know what I mean? Regardless of what's going on. And that is ultimately what it's about. Because we're talking basketball. If we're talking life, then we got to put things ahead of basketball. And if that's the case, then we got to prioritize what it is that we're really talking about. Because once you collect the check, now you're talking about being in the business of basketball. And that requires you to prioritize basketball. Most importantly, the business of basketball and how people view that business and how personal it becomes when you betray that business. And that's what I realized. For some, you not showing up for work is offensive for a plethora of reasons. I'm finding one being because they go to work and they think you should be put through the same suffering they do. I think another reason is because People want you to hold up your end of the bargain. If everybody thought like myself and didn't work, nobody would have anything. There would be no building at all. I think a lot of people believe people must play their roles, etc., etc. We need everybody active in order to keep our world going, etc., etc. And if one of our leaders decides he doesn't want to work, then maybe, just maybe, everybody follows that leader, even though that leader is telling us not to follow. Interesting. But nevertheless, it's one of those situations where I look at everybody and I just say, we harp a lot of responsibility on people who are gifted, and not to take away the accountability that they should hold for knowing that and holding that responsibility, but also to understand that we need to evolve us to say, stop relying on these individuals. Tell us how to move and live in life. Let them learn, and through their triumphs and mistakes we can learn, but not that direction. Not the direction. That is not how you're supposed to be living, in my opinion. Too many people have been flawed. Too many people have been contradictory. Too many people have been lost and found their way as they go, for us to assume that we're supposed to follow someone just because they're talented or because they have a certain set of attributes that we can get with, so to speak, that we can vibe with or what have you. I think what I'm learning here is everybody's different. I've made my set of mistakes. I can get in this camera and sound very, very wise, but I know of my L's, so to speak. I know of my losses. I know how it all actually is. So with that being said, everybody's flawed, no matter how they come off, no matter how they are able to express stability. At the end of the day, sometimes you just got to accept the fact that people make choices. And so to put so much pressure on people to make the right ones, I think you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. I really believe that. So for a lot of people who are looking at Kyrie Irving and say, you're supposed to be a leader, put the team first. He was leading in a way that he thought was right. He was standing up for something he thought was right. Do you agree with it? I don't know. At the time, I wasn't sure I agreed with it. But how it all played out, I think it played out in a difficult way. I think it played out in a very unfortunate way. I think a lot of things fell apart because of that choice. And now he has an opportunity with the Lakers. And what comes with that is basically that one more chance type of mentality. It's like you got one more chance to get it right, and if you don't, it's up in the air from here, man. And we've seen how they've treated players that have had this type of energy around them. And yes, maybe some of this stuff is not within his control. Maybe some of this is some things that are going on behind the scenes that maybe the average fan may not know necessarily enough about. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people want Kyrie to change his ways as it pertains to putting basketball first. They are really counting on him to do that. And I personally don't. I don't. I know what I'm signing up for when I sign Kyrie Irving. I know that there's a chance he may walk away from the game. There's a chance he may get hurt. There's a chance he may decide something else other than basketball. And when that happens, our team may suffer for it. That's something that you sign up for when you're signing up for Kyrie. He knows that. But what we also know is he's one of the most talented individuals who's ever bounced a basketball. And when you take on the chances that comes with him, you're also taking on the greatness that his basketball talent provides. And that is why a guy like Kyrie Irving should be given what he deserves in this league with the risk involved. No, not everybody should be given that, but not everybody harbors that gift. Not everybody can do what he does. And I think a lot of people know that. That's why all of this is so polarizing. That's why what he did is such a big deal. Because if, say, Mo Bamba or somebody doesn't take the vaccine, you don't even know about it, for example. You won't even know. It's not a big deal. He wasn't able to play in Toronto either. He wasn't even, you know what I mean? If it was a playoff situation, he wouldn't be a part of it either in certain situations. But you don't hear about it because with respect to Mo Bamba, he cannot do what Kyrie can do on a basketball floor. Those dribble packages, things like that, that's value. They know no one else can do that. They know that. And so they don't want to give him up. They don't want him to walk away from the game, but they also want to control the man because they don't want him continuing to spew this think for yourself stuff that ultimately makes it so that people do so. And they don't really want us not to go to work. They don't really want us thinking that it's okay to not take the vaccine. They don't want us thinking that it's okay to think for ourselves. Let's just be honest, man. Let's just be real. Because when we start thinking for ourselves, a lot of times that's good for a lot of people, a lot of times not so good for others. And they want to keep us in line. And so I get frustrated because I know that. You know what I mean? I know that. And so when I look at Kyrie Irving and whatever he's doing, whatever he's choosing, I also know there's a spirit behind why they don't want him to be the way that he is. And maybe he's making some mistakes in the process of this. But I also know that what he's about is the same thing that they've cut other people down for. Same thing. The independent thought, the entrepreneurship, get your own, the remember the sins of the land at all times and react accordingly. Like, that's a mentality they don't want us to have, because if everybody has a mentality, there are going to be some people who act out because of it. So they look at Kyrie as someone who could influence others. And that is what I think is going on there. They're scared. They don't want uprising. They don't want people starting to, you know what I mean? Just behave as if they don't have to be inside the machine that we're stuck in. So that's why I root for Kyrie Irving, because I know why they hate him. I know exactly why they hate him. And I also know that they've hated many people who were just like him before him, or people who thought independently outside of the bubbles and all this good stuff that they want to keep us in. Norms that I've uncovered don't harbor a whole lot of good in them as I meditate on some of the stuff that we do, that we practice, to be honest with you. So I'm in alignment with what Kyrie is about as it pertains to staying outside of that, keeping those things on the forefront of my mind. But I also try to keep a balance as to understand, if I'm going to be a professional, I have to understand that once I step into that arena, it's within my responsibility to uphold my end of the bargain, so long as I'm willing to take from them what it is that they're offering. And that's why I respected what Ben Simmons was doing, because he said, I'm not going to take what you're offering, and you're not going to get what I have to offer until I find myself in a space of peace. They hated him for it. They broke him down. They did, and I got on this camera and I said, you know what? Nah, I'm not aligned with that thinking, because I see what he's doing. See, I wouldn't respect the fact if he's willing to take money. And Stephen A. Smith made the argument that he's trying to take money and manipulate to try to get money. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but what I saw was somebody put millions of dollars back on the table. That's what the demonstration was as it pertains to Ben Simmons. And so how can you not respect that? You know, if he's willing to put money back on the table, if anyone's willing to put money back on the table and say, I want to do my own thing, so long as I respect the fact that you don't have to input or invest in that. That's what it's all about. You know what I mean? But when you allow them to invest in you, you got to live up to that investment in full. And just because you have the ability to do great things does not mean that you get to betray the fact that the rest of the field also has to input that time. They got to put in that sweat equity. They too may have some special ability. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they show up every day. They put in the work, and they put basketball first, and they do whatever they need to do to keep their minds in the game for the time that they've signed up to do so, because they're being compensated for that time. And so, is the game fair? Is there a lot of different things that make it so that's not even? I believe so. Would that prompt an independent mind to rebel? I think so. But if you're going to be a part of the game, you got to be a part of the game. If the game is to cheat you, then that's what you're signing up for as well. You see what I'm saying? And no, it's not fair. This should not be what it takes to display your talent at the highest level. It shouldn't require this, in my opinion. But guess what? There's a business here. And the business is all the best talent is displayed by us. We invest in you. We take half. Split it amongst yourselves. Figure it out. Like, that's the game. And we give you the spotlight. We put the camera on you. We put the beautiful emblem on you. We slap Jerry West's logo on the side of the thing, and we put the refs on the floor. We do everything we got to do to invest in the game itself. You display your talent. Owners invest in the individual bubbles that are these cap space entities, and it comes together to make sense. But if not everybody's on board, if not everybody's inputting, if the owners aren't willing to play a little extra on the luxury tax, if the players aren't putting in the best to put their conditioning forward and be there whatever. If the players aren't willing to invest in the teams in such a way to put a little money back on the table like James Harden sometimes, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? If guys have other things that matter more than basketball during basketball season when other guys are sacrificing, it doesn't work. It just does not work. So in this case, though I was following Kyrie and I agreed with him, I think the thing that when you're looking at the business part of it and you want to play your part, the only way to really deal, if you want that type of freedom, is to stop taking their money. I hate to say it, but that's the only way. Otherwise, you're signing up to be what it is they want you to be, how they want you to be for as long as they want you to be. And that is the agreement. And the money's supposed to keep you there. That's what the money does. That's why you sit through all that. That's why you're unhappy and you're going to be smiling about it, because the money is supposed to make up for that. And if it doesn't make up for that, you got to give back the money. That's what it is, man. That's what it is. That's what the Stephen A's, that's the crux of their argument. Those guys, the money people, they want you to give back what it is they preciously love, because that is the life essence and the lifeblood of their effort. And you're taking that without putting in that effort, and that means something to them. I kid you not. It's exactly what it is. It's almost spiritual to them folks. When they love money like these folks love money, you can't be taking their money and not giving them your soul. It's true. It's true, man. You can call it what you want, but that's exactly what it is. It's extreme. It's frustrating for those of us who don't want to align that way, but this is how the world works. Everybody's in agreement to keep churning. And as they churn, they pour their pot in the money, and the money goes where it goes, and it comes back around just like water cycle. It's literally a water cycle. And it all has a domino effect to one another. And if people aren't playing their part, it affects other things. And that's why people get so damn offended. Kyrie, why don't you come play? You got to come play. You got to take the vax. Because if you don't take the vax, then this hurts that. Then that hurts that. Then that hurts that. Then they have leverage. Then they have leverage on them. And they have leverage on them. A lot of this stuff you can't even see. You can't even see this if you're Kyrie. All the headaches that your rebellion causes those guys because of the different games being played above you. These are things you don't even think about or care about. But they're reacting to it in such a way like you're supposed to know. It's the nature of the business. That's why I talk. It's exactly why I talk, because I want people to at least have some inclination that such a thing exists so they know what questions to ask. So that you don't find yourself standing there, you know what I mean, holding the bag, basically. Thinking you got information and thinking you got power that it's not there. I'll tell you something else too. The notion that players should have to give back money. Oh, we're supposed to be mad at Kyrie for taking the money, Westbrook for taking the money, for Bron for not putting money back. Supposed to praise Harden for putting money back. All of that is the system, and that's what's required in order to win. Yes, I get that. But as I said, NBA's taking half. I think instead of asking the players to put money back on the table, I think the NBA should delegate more money toward investing in the game itself. Meaning, expand the salary cap on your own dime. Why should the players who have a limited amount of time to play, they only going to play for 20 years max, why should they have to invest in the overall game itself when the game is going to go on long after themselves? That's why they're so damn selfish, because they have to be. The system itself is selfish. It takes care of itself and leaves the players out to dry. So, of course, the reaction to that is to be selfish. Why don't we think of this? Why is this never mentioned? Do you think the NBA doesn't have enough money to put a little back on the table so that these teams can be a little better? You think they don't? Please. Come on, man. You want the players to put the money back on the table, they're going to be there for 5 more minutes. Putting the money back on the table to benefit whom? Tomorrow's players, the players after that, the players after that. And most importantly, the people who are always there. Owners. The league itself, who's always there. I really don't understand why the players are asked to put back money in something that's going to last forever. And they're not. Seems like that math is a little off to me. Just a little bit. Should they be able to put some in? Yes, some. Some, maybe. Yeah. There is a level that all should have to put into whatever degree, but to the point where these guys have to give back money so their team doesn't suck, nah, that should come out of the league. That's profit money that should be poured back into the league. It really is. Just be honest. So that is what I think, man. Hopefully we can get Brittany Griner home. That's something I haven't spoke on because I really don't know the situation. I don't know. And when you break rules overseas, man, it comes back around to just knowing where you're at. Same conversation, know where you're at. Because once you go into a certain situation where people are doing things differently, there's no leverage for us to help you. What we gonna do? Say release people that, we gotta release everybody that is under that infraction, not just you. All of their citizens who are under that infraction as well, we must advocate to get out. It's just impossible to delegate that properly without stepping on toes and being contradictory. And that's why it's important when you go abroad to know what it is you're getting into. Don't play around in places you don't know. Because once you get over there, man, it's whatever. It's whatever. Maybe you have a little leverage to get home, maybe you don't. But don't make mistakes that you can't make twice. Because that's one you can only make once in some cases. So I'm rooting for her, but I understand that there's no real way to win here. Especially when them boys over there, they at war. And we are not exactly on their side. So, good luck. Good luck to BG for sure. And that's what I got, man. That's what I got. I got a lot on my mind, as you guys can see. But I think at the end of the day, we've all made mistakes. I'm a flawed person talking to you right now. I can tell you mistakes I made today. It ain't that big a deal. We all make mistakes, but if we're not learning from those mistakes, if we're not growing, if we're not accepting our responsibilities and coming to terms with whatever we got to do next, we're going to continue to make those same mistakes. And this might be our last chance, quite honestly. You don't know how many of those you get, And so that's what I would tell anybody and everybody, all parties involved. Create a foundation for yourself in which to work. Something that you can stand on that's not going to cave underneath you. Foundation, people. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.